So if you're a sole trader and you're affected by making tax digital, you've opened up a Xero account, and I hope you watched my video on the different plans. And if you've missed that, maybe check out the link that I'll flash up on screen so you can go back and make sure you're on the right plan as well. But today, you need to get set up on Xero, and you've probably gone in, you've filled out all your details, you've seen the advert online, and you're now confronted with this setup guide. And I'm going to just show you exactly what to do here. The great thing is I run an accountancy firm and I've done hundreds of Xero setups, so I'm exactly the right person to be showing you how to do this. Anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing that you're going to do is see this start thing, and wonderful. Just look down here though, we've got these links that Xero have got some online guides as well, and exactly how to do it. You've got this kind of quick start guide, importing a chart of accounts, all these sorts of things. There are a few accountancy bits of terminology, and let me see if I can demystify those as we go along. But not just my video, you've got the Xero support pages there as well. Now, if I click into the next box, this is where we actually start having to fill in the organisation details. I've just come in and just put just in sole trade, but whatever the name of your business is. And just this box here in particular is, if you're a sole trader, obviously clicking that sole trader box, you might find someone who's a limited company setting up and has found this video. But today I'm addressing this to people who are affected by making tax digital. If you've got a physical address, absolutely fill it in. These social links, they're not terribly important for your accountancy side of things if you're really just looking to reconcile transactions, so you can quickly move through that. It's all looking quite nice and easy so far, isn't it? Now, this is where it gets a little bit trickier. So this is about choosing, obviously, your financial settings. And the first thing that we've got here is you've got this manage your financial year. I've not done anything here. It's automatically defaulted to the 5th of April. What I've done during the setup process is all I've done is, so I experienced the same thing as you would experience, is I've gone and started a trial of Xero, which I can do through our kind of reseller controls. And I've said that I was a sole trader, and it's automatically defaulted this to the 5th of April. So absolutely great. Now, if you want to run, say, a 31st of March year end, you can just come into here and click on the manage the financial year, and you can click update, and we could obviously change that to the, we'll have to change obviously the month first to get to the 31st. So you could choose the 31st, just like that. Now, it's going to ask you this really complicated question about transition periods. It never used to ask this way back when, but what you want to do is just press just shift all the data, and it's got considerable impacts. But the thing is, you haven't got anything in the current financial year, so it doesn't really matter. And we can just press save, confirm that, and then you're set up. And if you're at all concerned about that, just stick to kind of what you were doing before. Now, once you've reset the financial year, that's fine. We just click that little breadcrumb and we can go back to the financial settings. If you're VAT registered, choose your VAT registration. Now, I always think if you're a sole trader and you're VAT registered, dealing with an accountant is really, really important, because do you know the difference between accrual and cash, and are you on a flat rate VAT scheme? I know what all those things are. And as soon as I click, most people would be cash, I'm guessing. As a sole trader, that's not necessarily true. I'm just making an assumption. You've got to put in obviously most people would be quarterly. You'd have to enter the VAT number. In theory, that's as simple as it gets. I would think a lot of people watching this video are not going to be VAT registered, so just it's easy peasy. Don't worry about this stuff to do with construction industry scheme. I know some people might be watching this thinking, I'm a sole trader, I get CIS deductions. We can put that on later, and it actually says, you do this later. And I would think most people aren't going to put the back thing in. Just double check you've got the right time zone in there. And then we can press next. I think that'll be a relatively simple step. It seems a little bit complicated, but probably go with the default year end. It is important just to have a look at your last tax return on that date front, just to see how those accounts were drawn up. So if they were being drawn up to the 31st of March, it's probably important to replicate that. But if you were using the 5th of April date, do that. Now here, this is great. And this is where I think one of the big improvements for making tax digital can actually come from for a lot of sole traders is invoicing out of Xero. And we've got the ability to upload a logo here. This is great. Just browse your computer, find the file and upload it into the system, and that'll I'll make it look really, really professional. Xero's got this standard invoicing template. You can go in and start changing these templates. I don't think you need to. A simple sole trade business doesn't really need to. But there are a couple of other little things that I think you should have a look at here. Is in the default settings, we can put sort of default due dates for the bills on. So when we're raising sales invoices, so we're talking about sales invoices, if your default terms are 7 days, you can change that and it's 7 days after the invoice date. This bit down here is important as well about the invoice prefix. If you've already been raising invoices with invoice numbers on them, and let's say you got up to number 100, then obviously the next invoice would probably be 101. We've also got the same for quotes as well. Xero is wonderful for sending out quotes. So we can send out a quote, the customer can get it via email, and let's say you want to approve that quote. So the customer's rang you up and said, yes, I want to go ahead. Thank you very much. You press approve. You can generate the bill straight away. But obviously the quote prefixes, if again, you've been numbering your quotes and you're up to quote 250, just change the prefix so it will follow. In fact, if it was you were up to 250, it'd be 251, and then it just follows that on as well. And you can obviously press save once you're happy with that, and then don't go anywhere yet. You've done your logo, you've sorted those default settings, and you've got the options box as well. You can preview and edit the invoice theme very quickly, so we can just have a quick look. And this is great in here. We've got, so, if we've set up, for example, that right at that very start box, you've got the postal address or the physical address. It's just changing which one you want to appear on the invoice. If you've uploaded the logo, it's going to show you what it looks like and everything like that on that front as well. And you can just make sure my face is hiding a few of the other things down here as well, the customer details, content. And very importantly, down here is about payment. One of the great things of Xero is you can integrate a payment provider. It's something we've done. We've got Go Cardless and Stripe integrated. This is modern accountancy, what's called API driven, where we can link up to different bits of software and make things work. And you can have, if you're a tradesperson, link up something like Tradeify, whereby it manages all your jobs. And when you've done a job, you click a button and it puts the invoice into Xero. Fantastic. If we're just using this for, bog standard sending an invoice and we want to get paid, it's probably a good idea to fill this box in here, which is the payment advice. Probably put your bank details in here. So HSBC, here's my sort code, here's my account number, and maybe put the reference and say, please use the invoice number as the reference as well. Okay. Right, once we're happy with that, I'm going to press the X button. You can press the save button and make sure that's all set up for you. Right, great. We've done that. We're ready to send an invoice. Brilliant. The next stage that you're going to get to is about inviting users. And he says, this requires accounting expertise. I don't think it necessarily does. And this is a great opportunity to invite your accountant. It says that on the page there as well. So you can say, yes, I want to invite my accountant. I'm going to skip this step because I don't have anyone actually invite today. But if you've got a family member or a colleague who's prepared to help you with your accounting and bookkeeping, get them invited. What I will say about users is, get everyone who is helping you to use their own user account. I think a lot of people, their wife is helping, for example, or their husband is helping them. And they're like, oh, I'll give you my 2-factor authentication code and you can log in under my login. Don't do it. And then while it's a husband and wife relationship, you might be like, Justin, that's really safe. It's actually really helpful to see who's done what in the system. So if a mistake comes up, it's not about the blame game. You've done this wrong. It's about actually, I can see that Justin's done that transaction. And that's, again, a really clever thing about modern accountancy software. So everyone use their own user account. Xero will force you, after the first login, into what's called multi-factor authentication or 2-factor authentication. My little bit of advice on that front is Xero have their own app called Xero Verify. And actually, I didn't set up on that one. And I always wish that I'd set up, and I've been meaning to sort it out and I haven't. And I've been using the Google Authenticator. It means every sort of 30 days, I've got to go in the Authenticator app, I've got to find the code and I put it in. Whereas actually the Xero Verify app, it just pings a notification directly for, do you want to log in? Yes, I do. And it's done. So I think that's the better solution. So it's sometimes a bit of a pain setting that up because you've got to put a backup email address in and things like that, but just work through it. and I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine. So we're going to just skip this step for the time being. I think a lot of sole traders probably would. Now, if you have not bought the comprehensive or ultimate package, you can't do multi-currencies. So, and I think most sole traders will not be doing multi-currency, but if in the future you start getting paid in dollars or euros and you are finding your accounting really difficult because your software doesn't do multi-currency, Xero is enabled to do that. So just make a note that that is available for the future. So I'm going to move next. Now we're getting a little bit more complicated. It's got to ask this thing about the chart of accounts. What on earth is the chart of accounts? Well, the chart of accounts is almost like what we call nominals. So if you imagine these are like buckets, and these are where you're going to put everything into the bucket, and the bucket is where everything belongs. It's like sorting stuff. So when your bank account is imported through a bank feed, you've got a list of transactions, and let's say the first one of those transactions is money coming in, and you're like, oh, that's a sale. So you choose the sale nominal from the chart of accounts, and then it puts it into that bucket in effect. And let's say there's money going out and it's going to Orange Umbrella. That sounds like a really good accountancy firm. You choose the audit and accountancy nominal, and you'll find that. Now, my suggestion here is use the default chart of accounts provided by Xero, and just press next. Now, I am going to show you on the next page, here we are, about how we can customize these. Now, this is, again, a little bit complicated. There are several things that I do straight away in here that I will kind of think about. So the first one is in the 200 nominal sales. That is where we would put our income transactions. Now, if for a second, imagine you've got different types of income. So you're running a cafe, for example, and you're like, do you know what? I'd really like to separate out my food sales from my wet sales, my drink sales. All you do is you add a new nominal. Now, I think this is probably, one of the weaker areas of Xero. That's not a criticism actually of Xero, because I'm not sure how they would do this any differently. But if we go in here, we can add an account, and this is again why you need a bit of accountancy expertise. This box over here is going to help you a lot. This is how the profit and loss is organised. This is how the balance sheet is organised. We look at that. I'll go, oh, well, income is revenue. So the account type, we basically scroll through and we go, oh, well, it must be it's either revenue sales. I'm going to choose sales. The next available code was 201, which I can see back. It goes, yes, you're available. And then we would put sales and we would put food, for example. And then we could just basically press save. I'm not going to go through all of those options that those are the tick box, because most people won't use them. And so then you would be like, oh, hang on a minute, I need my drink sales. So actually we could just rename what's already there. And we'll just rename that as drinks. It doesn't matter what you're in. If you looked at my own profit and loss for my accountancy firm, you'll see that we've got sales, bookkeeping, sales, accounts production, sales, personal tax. It just allows us to see how we're performing at a glance in that particular area. And again, the cost of goods sold nominal, that you can add new ones in. And I've got lots of clients, and what they tend to do is they rename it to be COGS at the start, and then a dash, and then whatever it is. And people in the trade, materials, subcontractor labor, and they create new categories. So when they run a profit and loss, it looks really, really clean and tidy. But on the whole, you don't need to worry too much about this. If you're watching this thing, and what the hell's Justin's on about? Xero set this up so most of the stuff is ready to go. We've got sales, we've got cost of goods sold, we've got most things you would recognize: rent, rates, IT and software consumables, printing and stationery. These are just the buckets in which you're going to put things for the moment. Now, there is a thing at the top to say add a bank account. My preference at this stage, if it's a brand new setup, is potentially not to do this if you're starting a new business. If you do have an existing business, it might be an idea of just sort of to integrate this account, and you can add through a bank feed. It will take you into that. So just get this bit done, basically. So you're just searching this box. So say you were with Barclays, for example, you could go in and find your Barclays business account and just integrate it through your bank feed. Now, I'm just going to come out of that. Set up the bank accounts. If you've got multiple bank accounts, get all of those done as well. The reason why is it's slightly important on the next page. So once we're done with the chart of accounts, we scroll to the bottom, we put our bank accounts in, and it's going to give me this warning if I don't put a bank account and say, are you sure you don't want to add a bank account in? Click. Now, this is important, choosing when you're going to convert by. Now, my probably suggestion that I'm doing this in March of 2026. So I am kind of right at the point where Making Tax Digital is going to start. So most of the people that I'm going to be doing it for is going to be from April of 2026 is when we're going to start using Xero. Now, you might be watching this video and it might be June of 2026. July of 2026. I think you're close enough to the start of the tax year that you could actually go back. Now, the first submission for Making Tax Digital is going to be about 7th of August. So you might be like watching this 1st of August and going, oh my God, I've got all this stuff to do. Don't panic, right? Go back April. If you've integrated your bank account, during that integration process, obviously make sure that you've maybe said, I want to import the transactions back to the start of April. Pay particular attention what dates you chose to integrate your kind of financial start dates, because if you chose it to be your year end to be the 31st of March, because that's what it said on your tax return, then obviously that's a really important note of when you need to start bringing things in. Now, my suggestion is if you're watching this, is go back to the start of the year, bring everything into software, because that's the only way that you can really comply with this Making Tax Digital. You are going to have to go back to the start of the tax year. There are ways and means around that, but I would try and avoid it. If you wanted to go back further, it might ask you about conversion balances and things like that. Now, here we go. This is really a bit complicated. Now, I've not added a bank account in here. The number one thing that's going to cause you a problem, which I will show you in a second, is the bank balance. Now, if I press this button to show all accounts, you're like, oh my God, what do I fill in here? The only one thing that you really need to find out is on the 31st of March, 2026, or let's say you're in the next financial year and you're doing 2027, because that's when you've been caught up by this, is you want to go and find your bank account in here and you want to put a balance in. Now, why do that? Because on the one I've pressed done and the bank account appears on the main page of Xero, the balance is going to be wrong. So you need to pull the balance right, because I can't impress upon you enough about how important this stage is to get this bit right and actually making sure that we've got the bank balance coming in. And in fact, I'm going to backstep for a second, and I think I'm going to put in a bank balance for you just to show you, because now I've started recording. I've thought, do you know what? I think this is an important step. So I'm just going to click add without a bank feed because I don't have a real bank account I want to. And then we're just going to call this the current account. Okay, right. And then I'm going to press add account. Perfect. So now if we go back through, go to next. Let me just show you on that actual, we're happy with our conversion date. And there it is. We've got the accounts. Now, if the balance in your account on the 31st of March was £5,000, then put that £5,000 in. Your conversion balances, what we're looking at here is what's called a trial balance, and it does really need some accounting expertise. And I think if you're starting a new financial year, then it's absolutely fine to do this the way I'm showing you, of just forcing in the balance. But it means you're not going to have any historic data. And when you look at your balance sheet, it's got to show something called a historic adjustment. And you can see everything about accountancy is meant to be about double entry bookkeeping. Things need to balance, basically. And you can see it's got an adjustment of £5,000. I'd not worry too much about it. When I've done this stage, by the way, I would also lock the balances. Just means that if you accidentally choose the wrong dates or anything like that in Xero, and you suddenly like, oh, I forgot it was 2026, I put 2025 down, it's going to stop and give you a hard barrier and say, no, don't do that. The accounts are locked, and it'll stop you doing it. But that's it. We're done. The setup's complete. And I can press finish. Now, what I'm probably going to do here is this video today was about the setup guide and getting you from A to B and getting you on Xero and set up correctly. What I'm going to do, and it'll be coming up on screen in a moment, is I'm going to record a video about kind of how do you do your bookkeeping next if you're a sole trader? How do we reconcile a bank? How do we actually raise a sales invoice? How do we put a bill in? How do we get onto HubDoc? And I think it's a bit too much in this video to kind of go through this. My objective today was to get you set up in the right way and not necessarily to use the software. But it's on my YouTube channel, and have a look at that next. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.